So, week 12 and another song. About 2 months ago, this phrase popped in my head in the form of a mantra. Phrase comes from a title of a song and a lyric that's over 30 years old, but it popped in my head, and I thought it might be interesting to sort of take this 30-year-old lyric and bring it into a modern context and just kind of plop it in and see what happened. So that's what this week's song is, and it's not a cover. It's not even like a sound alike. It's really more of just a new song with an old title. But before we dive in, let's just go ahead and give it a listen. Here it is, number 12, with a bullet. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Am I racist? You may not like the answer. Terry Gilliam says I'm tired of white men being blamed for everything wrong with the world. Jon Stewart says police in America are enforcing segregation. George Floyd protests spread nationwide. How do we stop the pandemic of hatred? Burning cell towers for fear they spread the virus. Self-isolated at the end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. Grindr polls feature that lets users sort by race, supporting Black Lives Matter. J.K. Rowling's bigotry is painful and maddening. Make no mistake, government is mandating state-sponsored violence against trans people. Ran out of space, bodies pile up as New York struggles to bury its dead. A daughter is beheaded, and Iran asks if women have any right to safety. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. A pregnant woman and 6 children tortured and killed by religious cult in Panama. Trump acquitted of 2 impeachment charges in a near party line vote. We've overcome hard times before. Ron Jeremy charged with raping 3 women and the sexual assault of another. Trump's undeniably the worst criminal in history, says Noam Chomsky. Joe Biden says 10 to 15% of Americans not very good people. A 9-year-old boy charged with attempted murder after his younger sister was stabbed. 6-year-old girl sending sexually explicit texts. God has a lot to answer for. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. It's So I really just kind of approached building the song from the standpoint of making a collage. With the exception of the main lyric slash title, all the lyrics are taken from news headlines since the beginning of this year. CNN.com, independent.co.uk, and nytimes.com. One thing that I wanted to do initially was to have many different news sources, but I found a lot of difficulties accessing, previous days, previous months' articles on a lot of news sources' websites. That kind of limited me. To be honest, I got real tired of reading news headlines. I got real depressed. Um, it's um, it's um, it's um, it's um, it's um, it's not a happy time to be alive. That was a emotional challenge. I'm glad that that's over. And so I thought, instead of going through the lyrics like we normally do, I would just go through the headlines. I did have to take a few liberties with some of the headlines to kind of accommodate them fitting into a song lyrically. First verse starts with CNN.com from June 20th. Quote, "Am I a racist?" End quote. You may not like the answer. Then independent.co.uk from January 4th. Terry Gilliam, quote, "I'm tired of white men being blamed for everything wrong with the world." End quote. Then again, independent.co.uk from June 15th. Jon Stewart says police in America are, quote, "enforcing segregation," end quote. CNN.com, May 30th. George Floyd protests spread nationwide. CNN.com, May 21st. How to stop the pandemic of hatred. nytimes.com, April 11th. Burning cell towers out of baseless fear they spread the virus. nytimes.com, May 5th. Self-isolated at the end of the world. And that's the end of the first verse, and then there's the chorus. And into the second verse, we have CNN.com, June 3rd. Grindr polls feature that lets users sort by race. It says it's supporting Black Lives Matter. CNN.com, July 8th. J.K. Rowling's bigotry is painful and maddening. Independent.co.uk, June 14th. Make no mistake, the government is mandating state-sponsored violence against trans people. NewYorkTimes.com, May 1st. Quote, "We ran out of space," end quote. Bodies pile up as NY struggles to bury its dead. New York Times, June 7th. A daughter is beheaded, and Iran asks if women have a right to safety. And then that finishes the second verse, and there's a chorus. And the bridge is CNN.com, January 17th. Pregnant woman and 6 children tortured and killed by a religious cult in Panama, authorities say. NYTimes.com, February 6th. Trump acquitted of 2 impeachment charges in near party line vote. CNN.com, May 7th. We've overcome hard times before. And then there's a final verse. Independent.co.uk, June 23rd. Ron Jeremy, porn star charged with raping 3 women and sexually assaulting another. Independent.co.uk, also from June 23rd. Trump is, quote, "undeniably," end quote, "the worst criminal in history," Noam Chomsky says. Independent.co.uk, June 5th. Joe Biden says, quote, 10 to 15%, end quote, of Americans, quote, "not very good people," end quote. CNN.com, January 29th. 9-year-old boy charged with attempted murder after his younger sister was stabbed. Independent.co.uk, June 25th. 6-year-old girls found sending sexually explicit texts in lockdown. CNN.com, May 19th. God has a lot to answer for. And then there's a final chorus. So next week I'll probably be back to something more normal. It's time to get a little cheery. Yeah, we'll see what happens for next week. Until then, take care. I'm glad that that's over.